I want to emphasize that you can make money, you can have an impact, and you can do those two things together and have a return on your investment. That's my big thing.
Welcome to Target Market Insights, the Multifamily and Marketing podcast. Each week, John Casmon interviews multifamily and marketing experts to teach you how to find the best places to invest, attract investors, and grow your portfolio. You are listening to Target Market Insights with your host, John Casmon.
Welcome to Target Market Insights, the Multifamily and Marketing Show. I'm your host, John Casmon, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And if you're an avid listener of this show, thank you very much. Be sure to leave us a rating and review so we can learn more about what you love about the show and how to make it even better for you. Now, today we've got a good one. We're going to be talking to Dr. Felecia Froe. Now, if you're interested in multifamily and you want to review a sample deal, you are in luck. We have a special download on our website of a sample deal package. Just go to casmoncapital.com/sample deal, and you'll also join our mailing list to get tips and exclusive investment opportunities. Again, that's casmoncapital.com/sample deal. Dr. Felecia Froe is the owner of Money with Mission, an investment company focused on empowering professional women to build wealth and achieve financial freedom through social impact investing. As a real estate syndicator, Felecia has partnered with like-minded investors and has raised money for several social impact projects, including a residential assisted living home in Kansas City, Missouri. Let's welcome to the show, Dr. Felecia Froe.
Hi, John. Thank you.
Hey, Felecia, it's great to talk to you. Thank you for coming on the show. I went over your bio at a very high level. Take a minute or two and give us a little bit more context on your background.
Okay, so I know the first thing you introduced me is Dr. Felecia Froe. A lot of people are surprised by that. I am a physician. I've been a physician for over 20-something years. I'm a urologist, which is a surgeon that takes care of kidneys, bladders, kidney stones, So that was my start. Parents are typical African-American parents, go to school, get a job, get a great job, be a doctor, did all that. I don't know, about 5 years into practice, I realized that was not where I really felt myself. But as you can imagine, I had spent a lot of time to get there. And over several years after being in practice, I found Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and learned about money in a different way. Learned about real estate investing over several of his other books and some other people that I had talked to. Started real estate investing back in about 2004, 2005, single families, and did that until 2008, 2009, and realized that we didn't really know what we were doing. We had read a book and played Cash Flow 101 and we're in. And when the recession hit, when all the 2008, 2009, I don't even remember what to call it anymore. COVID, I think, erased my memory on 2008, 2009. We lost everything. It was a really, really bad, hard time for me. It was not only loss of money, loss of relationships. It was just bad. I was living in Hawaii at that time. We talked about that a little bit. Because of all those things, I had to make some different decisions. So ultimately moved to California and worked with a different practice, medical practice, and got back into real estate, realizing that real estate was not the problem. My knowledge and my network and my intensity into it probably was more of the problem. So got back into it, started doing syndication, learned about syndication, started doing syndications. And over time, first it was apartments for me, and then there were some resort property kind of things that we were looking at. And all of it just was a way to make money for me. And it was once I went and learned about the residential assisted living homes, and that was a real gut check for me. It made me realize, I can see how I can make money in real estate and serve a purpose that I wasn't feeling I was serving before. So residential assisted living home came into being. It's a development. It's still in development, even though we're open, and it's a bigger thing than we realize, like a lot of things are in our lives. So that brings me up to about right now. So my social impact leaning came more at when I found residential assisted living And once I got that and realized that that was what was missing for me in this whole investment, I've just started looking for those kind of projects ever since. So we can talk about some of the other stuff I've been doing a little bit later on.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving us that background, right? So you go from being a urologist and studying and doing everything that it took to get that career going, realizing that you really weren't fulfilled, came across Rich Dad, Poor Dad, started investing in real estate, buying single family houses, lost those, and then ultimately moved to California, realized real estate wasn't the problem. And then you kind of pivoted more into apartments before getting into residential assisted living. You said a couple things that really jumped out to me. One, you talked about losing everything in 2009. And obviously, that was a tough time for a lot of people. You ended up moving from Hawaii to California. Take us back to that time. You mentioned that you really hadn't maybe educated yourself as much as you should have. You read a book, played a game and started buying real estate. If you could go back and kind of dissect what went wrong, and you talked about COVID a little bit too. So if you think about what went wrong in 2009, what was the mistake or the thing that you would do differently?
So what I ultimately came to realize, and it took a lot of reflection. This wasn't like it happened and you knew exactly what you did wrong. It took a lot. What happened here? The fundamental thing is that we were undercapitalized. So we had these projects. We did not have enough money to see through if anything happened. We didn't. We bought them. We planned to get them rehabbed. We planned to get residents in there. And that was the plan. We didn't think through what ifs, all the negative side of it, which now people accuse me of doing way too much. It's like I'm all about the what ifs to get things done. It was devastating. It really was. I mean, imagine, here I am. I've been at that point was a successful urologist. I mean, I hadn't failed at too many things, and this was a huge, huge failure. I ended up had borrowed some more money to try to get everything back online, and then that money was gone, and had to make a decision. Am I going to keep digging this hole, or are we going to walk away from the stuff? And it became that we're going to walk away from this stuff because if I keep digging, I didn't see a bottom. Let's put it that way.
Got it. Man, I think you really hit on a key point there. Being undercapitalized is something that a lot of people may not think about, but making sure that it's not just having money to go acquire a property, but that you have proper reserves sitting aside in the bank account. So if you do have those rainy days, you do have increased vacancies, you have extra money there to take care of it and to keep you afloat in case you have any of those challenges that come up. So being undercapitalized is definitely one of the big red flags. You want to make sure that you are properly capitalized for any deals that you're doing, especially if you're doing any kind of renovations or things like that, and those budgets start to run over. So great point there. You mentioned also that as you reflected back on that time frame, you realized real estate wasn't the problem. It was really kind of your level of education and the actions that you took. As you went to get back into real estate, what did you do differently the second time?
Coaching and mentoring and joining a tribe of people that were doing real estate investing and just having people around me doing the same thing, talking to them, actually just spilling it out. It took a long time for me to actually be able to talk about 2008, 2009. It was really painful. You have maybe everybody's not like this, but I think you have a painful situation and you want to keep it to yourself. You don't want other people to kind of know how dumb you were. It was, I think, ultimately me being able to say that I was actually on the Real Estate Guys radio show, Halloween Horror Stories. And that was the first time I said this story out loud to everybody that listens to that thing. And I didn't die. And the people kept talking to me. So realizing that you have to talk about your failures to be able to get past them and to be able to use them. Somebody else's reflection back to you on what they see and what you did wrong or what happened is invaluable. It really is. So it was joining a tribe of people and getting around more people, building my network, realizing that I'm not a lone ranger out here like we often think we are, especially when, it's a highly educated, highly whatever we call ourselves, physicians, lawyers, all of us are kind of, you study by yourself. You get to where you are by yourself. Real estate's not that game. It's a completely different game that you have to learn.
Yeah, I love the fact that you highlighted what it took to overcome that and being vulnerable in the sense of sharing the story to actually learn. Because until you can actually vocalize that pain, it's hard to really get over it. But once you can actually talk about it, learn from it, now you can move on and just recognize, hey, it was just something that happened. It doesn't mean that's who you are. It doesn't define you. And especially with the success you've had as a professional, as a urologist, and, really any professional, right? I mean, those are the things that you pride yourself on, is the work. And if you've put in that kind of effort to create something, to become something, failure can be tough. So it's great to hear you talk about that. And I don't know if everybody needs to go on a big podcast and have that be the first time they share that story. But, if that worked for you, that's great. Felicia, I also want to talk about this, right? I mean, we talked about just kind of your upbringing and the focus, the drive, the push. And you've obviously done a lot of things. Where are you from originally, by the way?
I was born in actually Tuskegee, Alabama. My dad was at vet school in Tuskegee.
So Tuskegee, Alabama, somehow you wind up in Hawaii, you're hanging out in the Aloha state, and you move to California. So you've traveled, you lived in different places. And I have to imagine that on top of the professional stuff, on top of the investing, we talk about representation. And when we first got connected, it was one of the things that I think connected us was I don't see a whole lot of Black women in commercial real estate. There's certainly some, but I don't necessarily get a chance to talk to a lot of them. And as I listen to more and more of your story, I keep thinking about like that element as well, because there's a lot of pride. There's a lot of work that comes into creating and doing things alone. But this is a team sport, as you mentioned. So as you've looked at kind of your career and not necessarily seeing the representation of other folks, maybe who were doing this thing, and you talked about finding your tribe and kind of connecting with people, talk a little bit more about the importance of you playing more of a role in that space and creating a platform to try to engage with other people.
That's a great question. And I'm going to say I probably am a person who pushes against the norms as a regular thing. And when I became a urologist, there were less than 100 female urologists in the country. So, number one. And I always was in a group with all men until I moved to California when there were 5 women in that group. So it's just been a push. That's always been a push for me. And I'm a go against the grain kind of person. When I start to get comfortable, it's time for me to do something different and get uncomfortable. And now I'm trying to figure out, why am I like that? Because this discomfort that I have right now for some things I'm doing is intense. As far as the real estate investing, it's interesting that when I started with the group, the tribe that I joined when I moved to California, there were women in that group. Shortly after I joined, another Black woman joined that group who's actually doing amazing things. Monique Calm with her Real Estate Investor Goddesses. And I guess it's not huge, but it was nice to have Monique. So I guess like I said, I tend to push against the grain and tend to not care that I might be the only whatever in the group, woman, Black woman, doctor, whatever. It doesn't bother me. I'm there to change minds. And this isn't even a conscious thing for me. It's just, this is what I want to do. Is there any reason I can't do it? No, let's go.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, because that's the story we hear often, right? Is being the only one in the room. And when we talk about representation, part of what we mean is like just seeing someone else doing it so you know that it's possible for you. And it's not to say that you need somebody who looks exactly like you to think that it's there, but there are barriers that you may have to overcome that other people don't have to overcome. And at times it can feel like, well, maybe this isn't the place for me. And maybe it's a subconscious thing. Maybe it's not overt in your face, but I think it is important to see people who have a story like yours, who look like you, who you have some parallels with, having success in this space. And you mentioned Monique Holm. Monique has been a guest on the show as well, and she continues to crush it as well. And I think it's just really important to share all of those stories and those perspectives. As you look at the transition you've made, now you are focusing on really doing impact investing. And I wrote down here in my notes that you went from focusing on making money to making an impact. Talk about what you feel triggered that notion to say, you know what, it's not just about investing in apartments, investing in multifamily. For me, I really need to make an impact with my investing.
Yeah. And I don't know that there was an individual trigger as much as, because I can't say that I was looking for something. It was more that this is kind of boring. So maybe I was looking for something, but I didn't know what it was. So this part, looking at these numbers, looking at these spreadsheets, which I absolutely hate. So anybody I partner with has to be the person that loves that. I like the relationship building. So that part to me just wasn't exciting until I found residential assisted living. And even then, I can't say it was the impact part that got to me. It was just, oh, I can see how this can make a difference. And those were actually the words in my head. I can see how this can make a difference. It was until probably 2 years later that actual social impact, those words came into my mind. And I was working at that point on a project here in Tulsa, Oklahoma to build grocery stores and indoor controlled farms here in Tulsa and race massacre. I mean, there's so much I learned about Tulsa that I didn't know that to me we should learn in school, but so much I've learned. So once the assisted living and then the Tulsa project, those two things really cemented in me because they are things that make me get up in the morning to do better. Apartments just didn't do it for me. You and I have talked, it's like, but apartments and giving somebody living a good place to live has a social impact, and it 100% does. It just didn't drive me. And we, all real estate investors, all people who provide housing for people, places for people to work, all those things, that's all impact investing. It's all for the good. We just have to find the thing that drives us and gets us up in the morning and is making that difference in the world.
Yeah, you started talking about like the way you look at social impact. I'm curious of how you define that for yourself and for the types of opportunities you look for. Maybe you can elaborate.
Yeah. So for me, it's going to make a big difference in the world. I'm kind of looking world vision at this point. It's like, and do I know what the change is going to be all the way down the path? I don't. I don't know what the ripples are going to be. I just think that's my head. I think the ripple effects. So if I'm a part of building a grocery store in a part of a town that hasn't had a grocery store in over 10 years, what difference is that going to make in the people's lives that now have this grocery store? What difference is it going to make in the lives of the children and teenagers that see Black owners of a grocery store making a difference here? To me, it's just the short-sighted that I can be is like, oh, just what you talked about. There's somebody who's doing this. I don't have to be the person that only works in a grocery store. I can own a grocery store. I don't have to be a farmer in the fields struggling and having only government subsidies to keep us alive. I can build a farm and work inside and be a farmer and have all the technology and all the things there. That's a scientist. So when I start a project, do I see all the impact that project's going to have? No, I don't. I can't. I'm not that big visioned. I think I have a big vision, but I don't see all of it. But as I'm going, I can start to see, oh, okay, I can see how I looked at that kid and saw that kid's eyes light up when they saw this. I didn't think that was going to be a big deal. It's kind of like I know it when I feel it, that this is something that's going to make a big difference somewhere to somebody.
No, I appreciate that. You know, when I think about it, I think about really the three C's of impact, starting with your circle, right? Your family, your friends, impacting your circle, then impacting your community. This could be the places you live. This could be the areas that are close to you, but your community, the organizations you're a part of, but then also the causes, whether it be belief systems or causes that are really important to you. But impact really has those three levels, you know, impacting your circle, impacting your community, and impacting your causes. And as I think about investing and what it is that we're all trying to do, you want to figure out how can you make that impact. Obviously, people want to impact their circle, take care of their family, but beyond just taking care of your kids, your spouse, what other impact can you have? What's the legacy going to be? How do you take advantage of the platform you've been given, the resources you've been given to make a difference? And I think it's something that we should all think about. So whether you are taking, Felicia's route and looking to physically invest in underrepresented communities, or you simply want to take your dollars and find ways to commit your resources, your time, your energy to creating a bigger impact on the community and causes that you're a part of, I think it's really important for people to think about, especially if you're going to get into real estate, because quite frankly, there are simpler ways to do it. I mean, you can go buy a couple of duplexes and probably create enough income to live off of, or at least take care of your expenses. But a lot of us who are into the larger apartment space or the stuff you're doing with the assisted housing, a lot of that is to create a larger impact. I think it's just a really key thing for us. You've got a podcast. It's one of the ways we initially got connected, Money with Mission. Tell me a little bit more about the podcast and what you hope to achieve by launching that show.
Yeah, the podcast, I never thought I was going to do a podcast. As a matter of fact, I can remember saying so many times, like, I don't want to do a podcast. I don't want to get on that treadmill of trying to find somebody. And then I did. And the thing I love about it is the people that I meet and the people that I can introduce to the world who are making an impact. Because people see us and think, oh, John's a multifamily investor. He just does apartments without really seeing the rest of the story. And some people even look at us and go, slumlords, you do apartment buildings. They see the rundown ones and think that's what we do. I want to emphasize that you can make money, you can have an impact, and you can do those two things together and have a return on your investment. That's my big thing. So in the past, I thought of those things separately. I have to make money so I can have an impact. And then with all my evolution, it's like, oh, I can do those two things together, build a grocery store, have investors in it, get investors a return, and make a big impact in a place. And I want to bring investors along with me on that. That's the point of the show to me. And people do it all different kinds of ways. Just like you said, some people, they feel like they make their money so they can have their impact. There's nothing wrong with that. I want to show that you can do both at the same time.
Absolutely. And I know that you also really help other professional women as well. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. Physicians tend to be people who are very, what do you call it? Have blinders on. You see what you're doing. I make money in what I do. And especially people coming into medicine, they don't see some of the hard part of it. And it's not just about patient work. It's the business of medicine that's very challenging. So one of my big things is working with women professionals so that they can see multiple streams of income or know that that is a thing so that you can have options. I never thought about that money actually gives you options. And maybe I'm slow, I don't know, but money gives you options. And if all I'm counting on is my money from my job, whatever that job is, and at some point I was calling up as a physician, a highly paid blue collar worker, because it's got to be like a factory for me. It really did. So I got to where I didn't want to do it, but I couldn't leave because I didn't have money from somewhere else. It's like, how many other people are like that? I'm like, at first I thought it was just me. And then I started to realize it can't be just me. This is a thing. So started talking to other women, and particularly women, because that's who I identify with. And there's a lot of us who don't know what to do. We have our job, we do our job, they're doing great at their job, but they might not want to do it for as long as they thought they would. And what are they going to do, and how are they going to take care of themselves if they don't keep doing this thing that they don't like? And, doing something that you don't like or will make you want to get up every morning can kill you. It kills so much in you, not just your body, but before your body dies, so much of the rest of you dies that you aren't making the contributions that you should make to the world.
You said a couple of things that jump out to me. One, I'm hearing this theme about the tribe again, right? So you identify with women, specifically women physicians and women professionals. And I think it's really important, going back to the whole representation thing, is that you find your tribe, you find the people who you connect with. And sometimes those people look like you. Sometimes they look nothing like you, but they have the same sort of psychographic makeup that you have, or the same goals, or the same approach to life. And finding that tribe is really important, but then also understanding the causes that resonate with you. And sometimes you don't know those causes will resonate until it gets put in front of you. So you talked about assisted living being one of those things where I would imagine your background in the medical field made assisted living even feel more natural, because now you feel like you're really combining those two things, those two passions, as opposed to simply making money in real estate.
Right. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So for folks who want to learn more, you can go to moneywithmission.com, and Felecia has a 7 steps to create real wealth download available. I advise you to check that out. We're going to transition to our Bullseye Round. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
And now it's time for the Bullseye Round.
All right. I think we already talked about this a little bit, but I'll let you pick if you want to go there or somewhere else. Give me a failure or an apparent failure that sets you up for later success.
It was 2008, 2009. It was more than apparent. It was a real deal failure. I'm telling you, credit score less than 600 for a period of time. It was a scary time. The thing about it was I didn't let it beat me down. Like, I just got to get up every day. I got to keep doing what I got to do. Do I have to make some different choices? I 100% had to make some different choices. I loved living in Hawaii, but I couldn't stay in Hawaii and accomplish the things that at that point I wanted to accomplish. The reason I moved to California, to be perfectly honest, is I found a job that was going to give me a huge signing bonus so I could get back into real estate. That was why I did it. Yep.
All right. Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
Oh, man. I'm going to say audiobook. What's it called? Just to have, it's because reading is fundamental to getting along. You can't, there are too many books. There's too many mentors out there that we can't get face to face with, but they tell you the story. They tell you how to function. And most of us don't sit down and read a book. We're driving around, we're getting around, we're doing all the things we do, work out, do whatever you do. Put on your headphones and listen to a book.
There you go. Audiobooks. Check them out. Speaking of books, right? Give me the book you recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
Oh, in the last year, the book that I've gifted the most is the book I gifted most recently called The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey Jr., not the Stephen Covey. I haven't actually finished it, but it was highly recommended to me by someone's working with me, helping me keep my business organized. And I'm having some trust issues in my, when you look at your business and you see there's something going on, after I've started reading this book, it's like, oh, it is definitely a trust issue. Even if it's not clear and apparent the way we really think about trust, almost every breakdown, it's trust. There's something that's missing. It's very interesting to me. So, Speed of Trust.
Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
I haven't kept my habits very well lately, so let me think back. Getting back into my daily morning green shake, it to me makes no sense of how it keeps me focused on my goals, except that when you have a thing that you do every day, it keeps you. So first I'm going to drink my glass of water, then I'm going to drink my green shake, then I'm going to go sit at my computer and start checking my emails, then I'm going to, it's just that's true. If I don't drink my green shake, some things just don't follow the way they're supposed to follow. So that makes no sense to me, and I never thought about it that way, but there you go.
What are you curious about right now?
Curious about a lot of things. The most curious thing for me is how some of the businesses that I'm in right now are ultimately going to end up. What's going to happen here? Some things are going on that are just very interesting. It's like, that's interesting. So yeah, seeing how things are all going to unfold. Because like we talked about ripple effects. Just how is this really going to unfold? And what can I do to unfold it in a way that's beneficial for the most people?
What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were starting out?
I wish I knew to have more confidence in myself. I wish I was able to have more confidence in myself back then and know that I know enough to get some things done. I still struggle with that a little bit, but that's the big thing, confidence.
There you go. All right, Felecia, I know that you have moved from California to the Midwest. You're in, is it Kansas City or where exactly are you now?
Tulsa,
that's
Oklahoma.
right. Tulsa. All right, you're in Tulsa. All right, give me the best place to grab a bite in Tulsa.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Okay, the best place of where I've eaten so far, because I haven't been to a lot of places, I'm going to call it Sweet Lisa's, which is in the same parking lot as our grocery store. Soul food, fried stuff that's not on the health, but fried catfish, sweet potatoes, greens, that stuff that when your mom's not around and not going to fix it for you, Sweet Lisa's will get it for you.
There you go. Sweet Lisa's. Check that out in Tulsa. And then you mentioned that your website is moneywithmission.com. So we'll make sure we link to that in our show notes for anyone who wants to check that out. And again, you have that 7 steps to creating real wealth download available on that site. Felecia, this has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed listening to more of your story, understanding how you went from the medical field, being a urologist, dabbling a little bit in real estate, having kind of the hardships of 2008, 2009, but bouncing back with a renewed focus on education, building yourself around mentors and in groups so that you are surrounding yourself with people who are doing it. You can learn from those individuals, getting into apartments, and then ultimately focusing more on social impact with kind of the grocery store project you have, as well as doing the residential assisted living. Again, for folks who want to learn more about you, they can go to moneywithmission.com. Felecia, thanks again for coming on Target Market Insights. Hope you have a great day.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Target Market Insights, where we tap into the top experts in multifamily and marketing to uncover the top insights and strategies you need for your business. Now, if you're enjoying this show, leave us a 5-star rating and review, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. We look forward to bringing you more great insights, so just chill till the next episode.